Good day everyone, I am Jasmine Bimeralda from BESA 2. I will have discussing for today the two topics, which is all about instructional planning and setting the objectives. First that I will discuss is the instructional planning in the visual arts. I have learning outcomes. First, explain the importance of instructional planning. Second, discuss the considerations in preparing an instructional plan. Third is discuss the realities of implementing a lesson plan in actual class. I have a quote here. All things are created twice. There is a mental or first creation and a physical or second creation to all things by Stephen R. Covey. Why is instructional planning is important, or what are the importance of instructional planning? So, instructional planning is important because it helps teachers stay on track with the lesson and achieve learning objectives. It determines the clear objectives of each sessions and helps teachers prepare materials, conduct procedures safely, and assess appropriately. Teachers should follow the curriculum set by the school. However, art involves a lot of creativity and spontaneity. There are two types of instructional plans, which is the long-term plans or the long-term instructional plans and the short-term instructional plans. For the long-term instructional plans, it is the yearly and monthly plans, where short-term instructional plans, it is a weekly and daily plans. Examples of instructional plans or example of instructional planning, it is micro-learning, mobile learning, interactivity, and space repetition, etc. So in SL learning, instructional planning helps the teacher to construct goals, objectives, and instructional assessment methodology for the classroom. So what is methodology? Methodology is, in other term, is a technique. So it means teachers has a technique so that each student learn more. The planning is set based on materials available. Setting up an art can take a lot of time. Knowing whether you're going to use the tables, desk chairs, or the floor beforehand can save you a lot of stress and time. The following diagram shows the process of creating a lesson. A lesson plan while considering the reality of situations up to the implementation. So the first one is curriculum or goals and construct. Second one is an actual condition of schools and students. So it is processing into creating an instructional plan, goes to creating a learning plan, going to class implementation. So creating a daily lesson plan based on the curriculum without considering other factors can be frustrating for teachers if the resources, time, and logistics are limited. Therefore, practical considerations for your curriculum must take into account the realities of your teacher situations. Classroom management and school situations. Among young children, the most popular are painting and clay, but most teachers opt to compromise the activity to make it more management practical and fast. Learning to a class of 50 students, it is difficult, but it gets more challenging when you're dealing with missing materials and changing logistics. Sometimes it gets exhausting and frustrating for the teacher to prepare for all classes, but it is the reality. If you are teaching art as a subject in a school, it is a challenge but can also be fun, especially when you see the students enjoy and express themselves through art. Things to consider in preparing instructional planning. Teaching art can be challenging, especially if you do not have your own uh, your own room, or if you lack sources and materials. Being a future educator of the young children, it will help me organize teaching plans correctly so that children can can learn, and I will teach them to read and write so that when they grow up, they will reach their dreams. As a future educator, know what makes these young kids excited. It's also important to identify triggers for certain behaviors, especially if you are teaching a max level class or children with special needs. It is important that at the beginning you know who among your students can get too excited to play with paints, scissors, pencils, and etc. Doing that so can prevent behavioral problems such as lack of motivation or aggressive behavior. If you know students will, you can be 3 steps ahead and prepared for the best case and worst case scenarios. Plans for students' safety. As a future teacher, we always keep in our mind that the safety of our students is very, very important. Why? Because the parents trust us in order them that their children must learn from us. A teacher is not an easy role because we are not just focusing on the learning and the behavior of the students, but also for their safety. We always keep in our mind that when teaching and when teaching, we are teacher, we make sure that we always consider students' safety. Proper care for the materials and maximize workspace, venue, and water supply. We, the future teacher, make sure all materials, workspace, venue, water supply are always available. Why? Because it always says that to our students, all the things that we have, we cannot easily get it. We have to teach them how to respect and to take care of the things, for example, the material they need for their assignment, the workspace that they have time work. We also need to teach them, even though they are young children, but it's good that at this age they already know on how to use a thing that I might use so that it will be clean, especially to the water supply, because all of us will be considered when planning your lessons. This is a problem especially for those who do not have their own room because they have to set up an atelier for every session. Some teachers such as I do that. You should have a system for how to set it up as fast as possible through the help of your students. However, for us teachers, time allotment is out of control, so we have to make the most of it. Routine and obligations are key factors. That is the topic for instructional planning. Let's move on to the setting the objectives. So setting the objectives, the learning outcomes here is number 1, differentiate a teacher-directed approach and a learner-directed approach in the teaching art. Second, recognize the different purposes of an art activity in various settings. Third, examine the factors in choosing an appropriate art activity for students. So I have here a quote from Rudolf Steiner, 1992. The important thing is to arouse in children a real feeling for life, and color and form have the power to the validity of the work. So the spiritual ground of higher education is here. Sky Balloons 2017, Special Needs Students, Collaboration, Acrylic, and Canvas. An example of a differentiated activity for students with varied abilities. Some students painted an abstract background using sponges, brushes, and tissue with glue. It is easier for the students to use oil pastel for sketching his ideas or on canvas instead of paintbrush, which requires more dexterity and it can lead to a messier work. So this is the approach in teaching art. This is the picture. Teacher-centered approach. In a teacher-directed learning, the teacher sets the objectives of the activity, materials, techniques, theme, and etc. and follow the curriculum goals intended for that grade level. Planning is crucial so that the teacher can make sure that each class can cover the topics needed to comply with the performance and content standards by the end of the quarter. Planning by the following unit also ensures continuity to content and progression skills and techniques used per activity. This is also the example for the setting objectives for a discipline-based art education approach. It is a depth-ed curriculum. A discipline-based approach is ideal for students in the higher grades where they are more ready and open to learning facts and history which are not familiar to them. It also encompasses one of the studio habits of mind, which is to understand the arts community. Next one is learner-centered approach. It is all about this learner-centered approach. In a learner-centered approach, the teacher acts as a facilitator and involves more spontaneous teaching or open-ended activity that gives more opportunities for students lead exploration, self-expression, and decision-making. The flexibility of a student-centered approach is ideal for younger children who may not have the same way of thinking as adults. A good example of this is teaching for artistic behavior or TAB, wherein students are encouraged to work with a theme and medium that they want in so-called artists called media centers, paint centers, drawing centers, clay centers, and etc. A learner-centered approach is also ideal for teaching children with special needs who have different level of skills, needs, interests, and responses, especially when teaching in a mixed-level classroom. These standards are also not time-bound and limited, rather will be dependent on the child's individual progress and interest. In setting objectives for a learner-centered approach, teachers should focus on developing the child's creativity and self-expression through choice-based theme and media. Although this approach, the safe space is known as the altair, where children can do creative experimentation. In teaching for artistic behavior, these small areas are called media centers, where children explore and safely make mistakes while working on a topic and make that they wanted. Teaching for artistic behavior. It is also known as a TAB. This approach has a 3-sentence curriculum. The child is the artist, what do artistic do, and the art room is the art studio. Children learn the basic theories, concepts, and skills, then toward the end of the month, quarter, or semester, they will choose a problem or a theme that they want, then work on it until they are able to create an output based on their skill and medium for their choice. Reggio Emilia. It is a philosophy is an approach to teaching, learning, and advocacy for children. So this approach uses a constructivist, self-guided curriculum that applies self-directed, hands-on experience in a relationship-driven environment that focus mainly on early childhood education. MOS 2019. Students can develop all their senses through artistic explorations and experimentations. Next is Rudolf Steiner. Who is Rudolf Steiner? Rudolf Steiner was born on 1861, died on 1925, with the age of 64. He is a philosopher, educationist, and social reformer from Australia. His dedication is on how to educate children in a way that enables them to become their true selves, to be good citizens, and to contribute to society and to be a strong force for good in the world. He is also known as a Waldorf education. This places the greatest importance in giving children what is appropriate for their age with artistic love and loving the art. Steiner, 1922. Teachers cater to learners' imagination and creativity not only in art but a holistic approach to teaching other subjects. So, this is my last that I will discuss the topic, which is all about the setting of the objectives, learner-directed art activities, and teacher-directed art activities. From the table, you have learned the learning activities and the teacher activities. At an early age, it should be embedded in children's mindset that art is used mainly to express oneself to the world. They should learn that art is something personal no matter how it is presented and therefore can be subjective. Once their values about their own art are solidified, they can observe the work on the masters and other communities to get inspirations. By this time, they are able to understand that these works are also expressions of themselves as well. They will learn to be more open-minded, curious in what inspires this artist, and less critical of others. Teachers, we the future educators, should always keep in our mind when planning and selecting the objectives for an activity, for an art activity. Teachers should be able to discern how to balance a learner-centered and teacher-centered approach. That is all my topic. Thank you for listening. God bless.